Tom Matuska here with Thursday Live. We're talking about alterations, turning a deer form into a wall pedestal.
Yep.
And welcome to our segment. And how long are we going to drag this one out for? I think it's going to be a long time. And beautiful day in the Iowa Great Lakes. And guess what I did today?
I know what you did, but I bet they don't know what you did.
We went scuba diving this morning in beautiful West Okoboji.
Yeah.
And my scuba partners tried to drown me.
Wasn't me.
And we saw walleyes. We saw mega walleyes, mega walleyes. No, it's big. We saw some of those too. Largemouth, smallmouth, some of the biggest pumpkin seeds I've ever seen in my life. Lots of weeds. It was good. Saw a thunderstorm from under the water. You could look up and see the thunder. And we were always wondering what happens when lightning strikes the water. I told Mandy that she's in a rubber suit. What could happen? What's the worst that could happen? But it was kind of a pretty fun experience, and found lots of cool stuff and saw a lot of neat fish. And
cool.
It was our reference study session for the summer.
I didn't get to go.
Oh, you go all the time.
I did not.
Snorkeling at the top.
Anyway, last week, if you remember, we took, this is a competitor's choice, semi-upright mannequin, and we want to turn this into a wall pedestal. And this is our method. You may have your own method, and it may work better for you than what we're showing you. So don't, just because we do it one way, that doesn't mean it's the only way to do it. So you can switch any of this up, and if we're able to show you anything that helps you, we're happy to do that. But what we like to do first is we cut the backboard off, and then we're going to turn this mannequin into kind of a pedestal. We're going to make him symmetrical. We're not going to try to do the wall pedestal cut first. We're going to make him symmetrical. And I think when we left you last week, we cut, I think Brett traced on kind of a nice little artsy shape here of the concave back of the deer mannequin. And this is going to be for the wall pedestal, but it'll also be for a pedestal. So we showed you how we skewered the mannequin onto this mounting stand piece, and this is just an accessory from Bob Fothery. We have several of them of our own where we took a 2x4, however long, we have them in various sizes, lengths, and then we have, big 1/4-inch steel rods sharpened really sharp, and they're just bored right through the 2x4, and we skewer this on like a wiener fork. We use it for our life size. We use it for all kinds of different foam holding projects, I guess, if you want to call it.
Handy.
So right now, we trace this on, and I guess the next step that I'd like to do is cut this out, and we're just going to use the hacksaw. You can just say, you can use a Sawzall or whatever happens to work for you.
You guys cut the backboard off last week. Is it possible to call in if you know you're going to alter the form and get it without the backboard?
Sure. Every once in a while somebody will call. I mean, it's kind of, any of the mannequins, we used to order all of our life-size mannequins, for instance, with leg rods in. And then we'd have to work with all those leg rods, cutting legs and bending those rods. And it really made a mess of things. And we finally got smart and said, hold the leg rods, and they'll send them separate in a box. Same thing with backboards. If you know you're going to be cutting something apart, go ahead and we'll leave the backboard off for you, and you can order it that way. And then you can carve up a storm and put a backboard on later. It's not hard to put backboards on, and if you either foam around the edge or Bondo or clay or mache, whatever your method is, and then smooth it out real nice, you're never going to know that it was ever off. So you bet, that's a possibility. So I think if it's okay, I'm going to turn my mic off so I don't rattle your ears, and then I am going to cut this off. And because of our blade, we got about an 8-inch blade in there, I'm guessing. I'm probably going to have to come from this method, from this side, and then from this side over here, and meet my saw blade in the middle.
Yep.
So I'm going away now.
think you're still on.
All right. Now you only trace that on one side for me. Huh? This will be
Creative license.
that wasn't too bad, was it?
That was actually really good. Look at that.
Kinda good.
Nice.
Now, what you've done, now this isn't symmetrical just because I cut in from this side, cut in from that side. My cuts aren't even. I can see I'm much more concave here, not as concave here. If I was going to use this back in a, artistic mount or something like that, something attractive, I'd probably take the rough or form rasp. And somebody won this last week, didn't they?
Yeah. Yep.
Oops.
Lori Bill says, I was watching building off the grid. They were in the Ozarks, and the guy had a Matuska taxidermy hat on. Pretty cool to see.
Am I on? Can you hear me? Can you hear me now? Okay, anyway, I'd take a form rasp like this, and I would shape this into whatever configuration that I want. I have been to shows, and you have too, I'm sure, and many of you people, where people get extremely creative with what they do.
Absolutely.
Back here. I went to a show someplace, and they had it hollowed out, and they had a family of skunks, a little woodland scene in there. I mean, people get
that.
really creative, and people do the rock thing. There's all kinds of different methods you can treat this, ways you can treat this. But with what we've got now, if you shaped it nice and symmetrical, this would make a pretty nice looking pedestal. And we would do something like this. We use a lot of these pedestal rod attachments, and this is an epoxy. This is an aluminum sleeve. There's no welds in here, so you don't have to worry about a sloppy fit. It fits really nice, like that, really nice and tight. We would take this. We've done them all different sorts. The most common way is right up through the brisket. It's kind of common, it's obvious, and if anybody's looking how your full shoulder pedestal is attached to a base, the most common place that they're going to attach to, or that people will look, is they're going to look right here. So we try to hide it a little bit more discreet. Sometimes we'll do it off of a shoulder. Sometimes we'll do it off of the back side, not the show side, but off of the back side right in here. This would go into, we just did the deer the other day, and this would go into your pedestal post. This would go into your animal, and the animal can slide off, go back on, slide off, go back on.
Yep.
These are real nice, inexpensive, sturdy, easy to use method of attachment.
Now, using this as a pedestal to mount him, what would you do for the back? How would you attach him? Because we're going to have to get hair on the back side. We can't have the skewers anymore.
If this were that's a good question. If this were a pedestal, we've tried everything. We've tried working with these big old pokers in the side, and we've tried bungee cording them around the hair. Nothing works. If this is a pedestal, and some of them if you buy a pedestal, they'll have a wood block in the recess like that. So we will take the time to cut a 3/4 inch piece of plywood, maybe even double it if you want to, and trace around it. We take our Dremel tool with one of those sanding drums, those little sanding drums, and we sand that all out so that the wood recesses. And then we'll usually maybe just hot glue it in place, or some you can screw it in place, anything to temporarily hold it there. Then foam it, and the foam will run around the back, the foam will come over the front, and now you have a block in there. And then again, with your form rasp, you will reshape this. You have a nice solid wood in here, so you can treat this when you mount them just like a full shoulder mount. You know, it's got a wood block in it. That's a good question, and that's something if you don't do that, you're gonna struggle and struggle and struggle like we did for 35 years, till somebody said, "Oh, you ought to do that." How'd that sound? How'd that sound to them? Like thunder. Okay, now this is not going to be probably our end result, though. This is our start for me. This is my starting point. Rarely do I get really, really lucky, and that's it. That's perfect. As I look at this, I think I would like to have this out a little more. And you mentioned it earlier too. It'd be nicer if we had a little bit of the shoulder on here. So we're going to get him set up. We're going to show you how to cut him for a wall pedestal. If that goes well, and on live, a lot of times things don't go quite like we plan, so sometimes you'll see us have to fake it a little bit.
No.
Anyway, we're going to cut it for a wall pedestal. We're going to show you how to put a board on the back. Then we're going to take him and we're going to hang him on a flat background, and we're going to gauge what we ended up with, how it looks, how it's going to look on the wall. And we're only concerned now with this portion and the look as it comes off the wall. And wall pedestals all are formed different. Some of them look out. We had one the other day that you could hardly tell was a wall pedestal. It was it looked like a full shoulder mount, tipped a little extra, like a strong offset is what it was. Some of them are almost sideways to the wall. We want something maybe a little bit in between, something that maybe comes off at a 45-degree angles from a flat surface. So, like I started to mention, I don't think I finished. We moved this from last week because we had it right here. It's going to interfere with our cut on the wall, and so we moved it up farther on the neck. And with that, this is that surgical tubing, and we just pushed him off of the metal spikes, moved it up the neck, put him back on, and the surgical tubing is going to hold him nice and straight. So do you want to cut it?
No.
You want me to
scary.
cut it?
I want to know if you're going to, if you could show how to put backing on that form and how to make it look good.
Sure.
We'll get to that
Sure.
relatively soon. Might be a
Section 10?
yeah. Might
We
be.
have some really nice backing in the supply company. We have actually laser photos.
That turned out really good.
Yep.
I really like
Those are
Yeah.
popular. And it's a vinyl leather. It's really a nice vinyl leather, and you put contact cement on the back, and it's really pretty.
Yep. We will show you. We'll Bondo this after we get it all determined exactly what that shape looks like. We'll do Bondo on top of it just to give it a
And
nice
does that come
smooth
in a
surface.
couple colors or one color?
Yep.
A couple colors.
Kind of a buff taupey color and then a dark brown.
And leather, we use a lot of leather sometimes on the back.
We have
So
leather in several different
We've
varieties
had several
and colors.
requests on how to finish that, and we think we make them look pretty nice. Okay, I'm going to lower him down so I can look down at, well, not that far maybe. How about this? This is a lot of pressure to make it.
It is. It's a one-shot deal.
Okay, now remember, like I said earlier, we're only concerned with this part of the deer. This is all going to be changed. We're going to show you how to cut that neck and turn it out into the viewer. So right now I don't want to say straight, but he's a slight right, not very much of a right turn. We want a really nice, graceful curve. So he's looking out, I wouldn't say 90 degrees, but he's going to be looking out at 50 degrees or
Yep.
something like that.
Oh, hey, look at that.
Yeah, here are these. You did one the other day, and it was really sharp.
Really pretty.
I don't know if you can zoom in on that.
2 different color options. You got a buck, doe, and a babe. Fawn. Pretty cool. If
I'm
you're
real
not-
easy to work with, too.
What's your
Yeah,
trick
it
for
is.
it? That you learned from
tricks.
using with it.
The only thing I would suggest is have a really good pattern. Make yourself a pattern of the back. We'll show you how to do that when we get into this, but make yourself a good pattern that you can transfer onto the leather when you cut it, and then you can lay it in place, and it goes really well.
We'll show the finished product in a couple weeks on our
Yeah.
page if you're following.
Yeah.
Our our thing may still be a little far back. Okay, I'm going to cut. How does that look to you?
Yeah.
Place to start? Now I'm just going to try to go, I have the deer leveled up so his face is somewhat level to the ground, and I'm just going to try to cut perpendicular to that line. And we can always cut more, so if you're worried about it, take a shallow cut. Now,
Can we show them what he looks like?
I put a board up here on another mounting stand that we'll use as a work surface, provided you want me to loosen this, and you go ahead and hold him up there, and we'll see if we want to cut more or add some back on.
So this is what Tom cut right here. And we'll hold that up against the wall. This is our imaginary wall. So that's about where his shoulders sit. That looks kind of nice.
That's not bad, is it? Now, typically we like this to be a little bit stronger, so even though we finish this off, it's still hid a little bit. Hold him right there for a second. I'm going to take a look back here. Good?
I think so.
Go with it? Okay, now let's make a pattern of that.
Surface he's going to pattern is going to be this surface right here. So we'll know what our back plate that's going to contact the wall is going to look like.
If you make a pattern, you want to stick him back on the thing, or
Oh,
can
I
you do
can
it there?
show them. Yeah.
You make a pattern and I will get a Dremel ready.
So and this pattern is going to be somewhat rough, but we'll get it pretty close. You guys see that? And then I'm just going to trace right here. A couple of T-pins to hold this in place would work good. And that's going to come right up around here. That's about what's
Good.
going to
Now I'll just cut that out. Now you can do this for any animal. You can do it for everything from a bobcat on all the way up to I mean, we've done pedestal elk and wall pedestal elk, and
Chip Brown says you guys make a good tag team.
Ask him if he used his new gloss yet. Didn't he buy some of
yeah.
that new gloss?
Did.
Yeah.
Chef, have you used your new gloss yet? You bought it like the next day.
That's right. That's right. We mentioned last week too, it's a good idea to have your cape out, maybe in the fridge as you're doing this, just to make sure that after you get all of these adjustments made and we extend the shoulder a little bit, cut down here, you notice this was the original length of the form. We're just a touch past the original length of the mannequin down in the leg. You'd want to make sure that you have enough cape to accommodate that.
Okay, this doesn't quite fit like we want it, but we're going to make it work. Now I just you drew the pattern. I cut it out with scissors. This is one of our wall pedestals, competitor's choice wall pedestals. I just grabbed it thinking it was going to fit, and it's a little different than what we cut, but we'll make this work. Now,
Chef
let's see.
says it's awesome.
It's good stuff. And how long, tell them how long we made that work. How long did that gloss go?
Gosh, we went Thursday to a Monday following before we threw it away. So 10 days, maybe 10, 11 days. And we've had really good luck with it.
Ice cream man came again today.
Yes, he did. I was ready for it. I needed it. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to cut this out on a bandsaw.
And you could cut that on a jigsaw too if you didn't have a bandsaw, but we've got our bandsaw handy here.
Came off again.
For those that love our habitat bases, our rock bases, we've been out of stock of some of the wood bases. We now have a lot of them back in stock, so you can check back on all of them. And a lot of those are back in.
I think we can make this work. Okay, now we're going to have to cut a little, and maybe you'll cut a little bit off the top here. The rest of it will conform. Now when you do this, say you have just the right size, you attach this, you can cut this off with a saber saw or also, sometimes we will take the Dremel tool and we'll recess half-inch cut in here, and if you have one of those drum sanders, you can do it real easy. It's real easy to gauge, and then you can countersink this one. I like more shoulder than less shoulder, so I think we're going to put this right on the back, and then we will
Foam to it.
We can bondo it on, or we can screw it on once we get it right, the pose we want. We're going to put this on that board, and we may shim this a little this way, a little that way, you know, to get what we're after. I'm going to cut a little off the top.
Did you turn your mic back on?
What do you think?
Oh, you must have.
I did.
Wow, you're getting good at that.
I'm getting pretty clever. I'm just
Yeah.
like the priest in church. You ever see him? He sits down and he does that, and then he stands up and he does that, and I think, wow.
Ours is doing service automatically live online from now on too,
Wow.
even when they open back up.
And now this shape is really arbitrary, isn't it? There's no real right or wrong to where that shape
You're
falls
going to
in
do
place.
one this week and you think, that's the best one I ever did, and you're going to do one next week, it's going to be different, and then
Yeah.
that's the best one you ever did. If you can hold this right there, I'm going to just run a couple screws, and then let's put it on the, hang it on the wall, you think?
Yeah.
On the panel.
Is there a go-to for screw size for that?
We use all torque head screws. No, something that's going to go into the foam and bite real good. We like torque head screws. And
Costs him a lot of money to watch every Thursday.
I noticed that. Thank you, Shep. You listen well.
Costs
Yeah.
a lot or saves a lot?
That's what I was gonna
Saves a
say.
lot.
Just think of all the money he's saving.
Saves a lot. Okay, now maybe we won't have to. Maybe we can keep this just like this. Let's hold him up here one more time and let me look. Now that we have a board on. Okay.
Now he's sitting on those screws, so he's out just a touch, but
Okay, you go look and give me your professional opinion.
oh my gosh. Pressure's on. What do you think, Mandy?
You turn that head.
I think it looks great.
Gonna work?
That's gonna give just enough shoulder for us to turn the head and bring it back.
Okay, come back and hold him, and then I'm going to put a couple screws in the back, and then we'll just leave him on that board while we alter the neck.
And put him up high so we can hit it.
How you doing out there? Good spot here?
Yep. Good. And can you just do one? We'll see if we can get him.
Sure.
Oh, I guess you can.
No, you can go ahead.
Adjust
You can
your
go
stand.
ahead and tell me, and I'll move him.
Oh, he looks good.
Like that?
Yep.
Okay, I'm going to stick one more in. Now we'll cosmetically do that backboard later. Now we can take the surgical tubing off. Be careful with the surgical tubing. People have been known to snap their face and eyes and everything else.
That's handy stuff.
Hey, would you help them out and bring over your little whiteboard, Ross Pro, and show
Most
them.
of these guys don't even know
I
who
know.
that is.
I know. Maybe their dads do. Show
Shep
them
does.
how to turn this neck before we get to that point. Our method.
Okay. So, put me on the spot here. You're gonna make me draw.
You're a good drawer is why, and they'll be able
Whatever. Okay. So if we were looking down, if this is our wall, and the shoulders of our deer are here. And this is our neck. Actually, I'm going to draw it just a little more what it was. A longer shoulder here. Our head is currently looking down this direction. Here's our head block. The spine of our deer is right here, between the shoulder blades, and runs up to the back of the head here, or the back of the head block. So this is our spine. We can alter that deer neck anywhere that spine can turn naturally. And so for us, I think to get him looking back into the room, we're going to want to turn him this direction. To do that, we're going to turn the spine here, just in front of the shoulders, maybe one time in the middle and one time behind the neck. And if we get real scientific, you can take an actual spinal column and you can bend those vertebrae and see which ones turn. But to accomplish those turns, we're going to take a wedge out of this and remove this material and create a relief cut on this side. So it will close this gap and open a gap over here. And that way the pivot point is right here in the center and we're not moving that spine. So we'll do that again here. Making a cut there. We'll remove this and bring them together, and that will make an opening on this side. And then we'll do that one more time over here. Did I do that okay?
And what happens if you do?
If you do too few, I can hardly say that.
I could do those.
Do too few, you may have a hard turn.
That should be a word.
You'll end up.
Do too few.
It is. You may have a hard kink, in which case you can take out and choose to take out another wedge in between, maybe less than this. If you took out a great big wedge here and he had a real hard kink at the shoulders, you might open it back up and decide you want to put 2 more cuts in instead of just 1.
And you can open them or not open them as far as you want, too, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So if we wanted to take a whole bunch out and make a really sharp turn right behind the neck, not
Just
sure
like those
you'd want to do
snakes at
that.
the checkout counter at Walmart.
Yeah.
That you pick up them wiggly snakes,
Yeah,
you know, that have all the
exactly.
bees in them and stuff. And they,
Wooden ones?
yeah. Okay, so would this be a good spot to start?
Yeah, yep.
So you're telling me
So you're telling me.
if I cut a V out of there all the way through,
Yeah,
and then I cut a relief cut here,
yeah.
I can bend that neck that way.
Yes.
'Kay.
And the nice thing is you can bring it to the center point here. Do make sure your pivot point is at the spinal column. So it will be in the middle of the throat and the middle of the top of the back.
And this would be another good spot?
Yeah.
So you're telling me now what happens if I just cut way too much, like a ridiculous amount?
It's just foam. We got it right here. We can always put it back.
So less is good to start with the material removal.
Gonna work?
Is that correct?
To a degree.
Less is
Yep. Less is more. What we'll do is take those wedges out and then we'll screw the deer together with the gaps in place and we'll see how much turn we like. We may take more foam out or we may lessen those gaps too.
Now what if the head falls off?
Well, we have all kinds of methods to save that. We have, I think in another video, we're going to show them how to put a change-out head on, so that may not be a bad thing. But are you saying that you may not cut all the way through.
That's always my goal. Sometimes that works. And we've done a lot of different things over the years. We put wire, we put rod down through them so they don't fall apart. Cut to the rod, then bend them, tick, 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 you know. We've done all kinds of things.
That does work. I've done that with fish bodies. So a real quick illustration too, while you're setting that up. If we were to take, notice with this turn, we kept the pivot point at the spine. And we're going to open it up here. And that way the spinal column changes naturally. Sometimes we've seen people that will take that cut all the way across and take it out over here. And what you'll notice is you're actually making the spine shorter by doing that. So when we bring that cut together, we've actually made the spinal column possibly a half an inch or an inch shorter, which
So
you would
by
have to compensate
cutting
somewhere.
to the spine, you're turning like the vertebrae can turn.
Yes. Yep.
Okay, so I'm going to cut, and I'm going to try to cut as perpendicular to the floor as I can. Shoulder's going to be a little in the way, so I might start this one up a little farther so I don't run into this ball joint of the shoulder. But I'm going to try to cut a V perpendicular to the floor.
Yep.
And I mean, we've done plumb bobs, we've done all kinds of different things to do that. We've done lasers. You can take a laser level, shine a laser level on there. There's a lot of different ways to do it. We've got to where we think we're good enough that we can do it just by eyeballing. Now I tried to come to the center line here, and I tried to come to the center line there. I may have gone past in here, and I may not have gone far enough. I'm not entirely sure. Okay, do you want to stick with that one and cut a relief cut? And
I think that looks nice. So this is what came out of there. And in theory, when we make the cut on the back side, that's what we're going to gain on the other side. So we'll close this and we'll gain that.
And some people try to take that and put it back in your cut on the back side. I don't think that's worth doing. Now, do you want to start some big screws here?
Yep, I like doing that.
Because that way you'll save me from having my head fall off.
I thought you were going to show them what happens if your head falls off.
We probably will get to see that anyway. But you better hurry, because I'm going here.
Go.
Can you hand me that Sharpie right there? Just so I find a to where my cut is. Here's my cut. And here's my cut at the top. I just put marks there because I can't see on the other side of the deer. Now this is going to be nothing more than a relief cut. And it's going to be straight up and down. If I were to hit the other end of that V really, really close, it's going to fall apart time.
Yep.
If I'm off a little bit, it should be movable.
So what you're saying is you're trying to be off a little bit?
I'm going to try to be off a little bit.
Wow.
That's pretty good, wasn't it?
That was really good. I kind of hit that accidentally.
I'm going to hold it, and you... Should I bend?
Yep.
Okay. Go ahead.
There's one. Now you can see we've reduced that. If he didn't want as much turn there, he could open it up. Or we could suck it in all the way tight and increase the amount of turn.
So now, here's what this looks like on the back side.
So that's what we gained by taking out the wedge on the front side.
Now, do we want to foam that together, or should we do it again?
Let's do it again.
Okay, you
Oh, I
better
might have screws in the way.
reinforce me just a few more screws, and I'm going to stick this in for a little.
I'm going to back this out because I think that's going to be in the way.
You just want me to embarrass myself.
No.
Okay, if you put one right here, it'd be good. Anywhere that I'll miss it anyway. Maybe up there. Yeah. And you don't want to, sometimes we'll screw them together a lot like this, but you don't want to go too crazy because all your screws start loosening and you will have parts falling on the floor. Okay, one more, right? Mm-hmm.
Screw. Probably gonna hang up around that screw. Do you want me to take that out?
You can. Okay, I'm going to need something to. Okay, if you can,
A brisket.
maybe stick one right here would be good.
But you're gonna close that gap.
Yeah, but you're going to close it for me. Good. Okay, one more on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Ready? To take that
Yeah,
out
you
for
might have to take that one out for me, and I think we can go. Okay. Now you got him held there.
Mm-hmm.
You hold him, and I'll put one in over here. These form alteration screws are really handy for doing this and putting forms back together. That one can probably, we can probably open him up a little bit on that side.
Yeah. We need to have them in.
We've been.
Yeah, there you go. There we go.
Sounded bad, but it was good.
No, that's
Okay, now how are we looking?
good. Better.
If he's square to the viewer, How does that look for a wall pedestal?
Yeah, much better.
Is that nerve-wracking to do live?
Well, no. Nerve-wracking is terrifying is more of it. Okay, now should we foam some of that together?
Yeah, may as well.
We can keep doing this. I want to put one more cut in here yet. And then we're going to foam this and we're going to smooth all this out, put all this detail back in. But if we try to cut one more cut, we're going to have pieces all over the place. So let's turn him on his side and maybe foam on the back side first. Let that foam set up, and then we will flip him around and foam in here. Then we can take these screws out and the foam will hold him in place.
You ready for me?
I am, and the foam we're using is our 3-pound mannequin foam. And I'd blow the dust out of your cracks. I'm going to get a little piece of paper for the floor.
And we've done this, we showed you this last week, so we're just going to do equal parts of A and B. I'm going to mix plenty so that we don't have several pours of foam. I think plenty.
Eugene says you need to make a mold of this one.
And we're going to whip this with a drill. You could do it with a popsicle stick if you needed to.
So we sell the 3-pound foam and the 10-pound foam, and the difference is the density. But let's say
I'm going to
use
put this in so it doesn't
10
spread too
pounds
far.
in this.
You could, the 10 is very hard to carve. Very, very hard to carve. So if you wanted to do it structurally, absolutely, you could put a little bit on the inside, but you would want to finish your exterior probably with some carvable foam. And I'm letting this foam just a little bit before I pour it so that it doesn't leak down into the crack. What happens is if it leaks through, then it will start to expand and push the backside open. Now you can see it's almost going to fall out of the cup, and I'm just going to put a nice little layer down through here, and I'll also foam this other cut. There we go.
And I put an extra form alteration screw right here so that this didn't blow open and make our openings way too big.
And a lot of times, we'll actually pour these in little tack pours first, just to get it in place, and then we'll pour a second pour. But for you guys, in the interest of time, we went ahead and poured the whole thing full.
Okay, now that's like Brett showed you the wedge we cut out of the back side. We don't, or out of the front side, we don't put it back in here, but this will fill in that gap and form that wedge. And that foam will harden real good. I heard you talking about the 10-pound density foam. It's real hard to, when we start rasping and doing detail, you're going from softer foam to hard foam, softer foam to hard foam, and it's real difficult to get this even to that.
Yep.
So what would I use 10-pound foam for then?
I'll show you what I did 10-pound foam for. We have a bobcat log. We don't not only alter mannequins, this is a real pine log, and we needed it to conform to a bobcat. This is 10-pound foam. And this stuff is really, look at that. That's as hard as pine. And
So are you saying that's a future habitat piece for people to
it
look
could
for?
be, but we needed a lot more bend in it. We cut a V out of here, same as a mannequin, a V out of here, same as a mannequin. Here's a screw, there's a screw over here, foamed it with 10-pound density. This will get blended from here to here. You're not gonna know other than the color. It's gonna look just like the rest of the log, and it'll be for a really cool bobcat mount. That's what we use 10-pound for. Coming soon.
Maybe not super soon.
Now you can see this foams up quite a bit. I would say, I don't know, 10 to 1 maybe. It probably
awful lot.
increases in volume. And you'll want to watch free rise foam. I would call this free rise foam, where you pour it into a container like the cup, and it free rises. It's not going to have the same density as foam made in a mold. So you will want to make sure that when you're just before you mount this deer or whatever you're going to do with it, carve it down. Make sure that this doesn't sink in or do something. Some people will shellac it.
Oh yeah, they'll seal it.
Elmer's good, seal it, they'll seal it in some manner. Okay, we can probably do the other side, yes?
Yep.
And then, it's getting about time to leave you again. And when you come back, we will have this all filed and sanded real pretty. We're just gonna do it with knives, rasps, and we're gonna make this conform to that. Get rid of the foam that's oozed out. And then next week we're going to show you how to put the head on, how to finalize this wall pedestal, and we'll probably even eventually put horns on, show you the back, you know, do some
Change out head maybe?
change out head.
For those that want to see the filing part, is there any way you could do a tutorial on that?
We can do it. Did somebody ask, or are you making that up?
I made it up.
It's a real boring, it'd be a real boring hour. I can spend 2 hours
You
doing
could do a
that.
fast one to it.
We can. Caitlin does a
gotta
good
do
job.
it.
She makes me look like Joe Super Taxidermist sometimes.
Feeding himself.
I'm now just
Here, I'll
quickly,
tip
we
this
poured
up.
our last one. We let it foam a lot before I poured it into the crack. This one, because the opening is so narrow, I'm gonna wanna pour this much liquidier.
Is that a word?
It is now. It's official, Facebook official. And we're just gonna let it run down in through here. I don't know that I'm gonna get a whole bunch into this one. But since it's tacked up on the backside, I'm just gonna let this run through. And you could, if you wanted to, you could rasp the finish off of this side, and that way the foam that rises out you can use in your alteration. We'll probably carve this back and then refoam over all that nice and pretty. Is that it?
That's it. That's a good job. Now the way we probably would start on this is going to foam all the way up high like the other side you saw. And our method of starting, trimming it, is just taking this and following the contour from one piece to the other. Get the crust off of the foam. The crusty part outside is going to be your hardest. Once you're past that crust and you've carved it off with, you can use a knife, but a lot of people cut themselves with knives. I have for sure. But knife on foam is very dangerous. I've seen more taxidermists go to the emergency with knife cuts carving foam than anything else. So once you get the crust off, then it's time to go to your form rougher, your form rasp, form rougher. This is a great carving tool. This is excellent for putting detail in. And it's kind of aggressive, but it cuts through that crust really good. We like that. We have little detail roughers. One of our best ones ever is a cuts-off file. I like the coarse one for cutting in detail. It's great.
Yep.
A lot of these products that you're talking about right now are 15% off through tomorrow night. So take advantage of that, and you can find them online at www.matuskataxidermy.com, and there's a tab right for it on Facebook Live, 15% off sale products. So take advantage of that.
And we have a gift for somebody today.
You are giving away, well, you didn't really use it that much, but the surgical tubing, hold it up. It's
Oh,
down.
yes, we did.
Oh yeah, and we used it last week too.
Last week, yeah. But it comes, it's a lot to it.
This is and you can cut it into pieces if you want to. I bet it's more than that.
And you guys have reused it and reused it and reused it.
Oh, we had
yeah.
these pieces for 20 years, really
Yep.
and truly. It's good, strong stuff, and when you're doing stuff in your shop by yourself, this is a lifesaver.
Yep. Other set of hands.
Right. And the winner for this week's giveaway is Frankie Folsom. So
Frankie,
Yes.
congratulations. You're going to like it.
And how did Frankie?
He liked and shared last week's video. So in order to enter into next week's giveaway, you'll want to go ahead and like and share this video, and you have till next Thursday at noon to do so. So even if you're not watching live and you share it, you have a week to get in on the giveaways.
Now, other things we might do while we're off till next week, we might as well foam that backboard on.
Yeah, we can attach.
That way you don't have to watch us do that, and we would make sure you don't get on here or you're not going to get this off. So somehow put wax paper down or something. I would pour foam down in this little crack here, let it ooze throughout the whole thing. When we do elaborate alterations like this, a lot of people use Bondo to put things together. I've had Bondo break. I feel safer with foam, but we will still probably put a reinforcing rod down here, and just so that it doesn't fall off the wall and break the head off.
Yes.
Frankie is watching. Said yes, ha. I think he meant e-haw.
We know what you meant.
Autocorrect.
That's
That's autocorrect.
Okay, so next week we'll do it again, and we'll pick up. I think we're gonna put on a new XP head on this.
That'd be nice.
And we'll make this look pretty. We'll enhance some of this detail and turn this into a real showpiece.
Yep.
Thanks for tuning in.
Thank you for joining us.